They know what they're doing. Not just this animation, this long ass fucking ladder. I lost my grip, boys. Oh. That's fucking funny, bro. That's fucking funny. I seem to have lost my grip. Let's put long ladders in the game. Let's talk about Stellar Blade. This is the action RPG that had gamers hyped for months, but things got messy leading up to its launch. First, IGN France attempted to condemn the game, calling the main character Eve a doll sexualized by someone who's never seen a woman. Naturally, this upset some people who were just looking forward to playing the game. But wait, there's more. It turns out there was some unintentional racist graffiti in the game that said hard R. Articles were published by mainstream media questioning how nobody caught this mistake earlier, and Sony swiftly jumped in and had the mistake patched out right before the game launched. So here we are with all this drama and controversy swirling around Stellar Blade, and it got me thinking, was the drama worth it? Did this game actually deliver, or was it just another generic action game using sex to sell it? I've been following this roller coaster for way too long not to find out, so let's dive in and see if Stellar Blade lives up to the hype, or if it's just another disappointing letdown. Just understand, the following video is not a full review. Stellar Blade takes people 21 hours on average to complete according to how long to beat, and at the time of this recording, I'm only a few hours into my playthrough, so understand this video simply contains some of the first impressions I have on this game, as well as the story behind all the drama leading up to the game's launch. How I feel at the moment could change by the time I make it to the end, so feel free to take everything I say with a grain of salt. That being said, here's everything you need to know before you install Stellar Blade. When they first announced this game, people were losing their minds. Many gamers dubbed it a mix of a Souls-like and a hack and slash, but with this futuristic take on it. The developers made some big promises when it came to the game's fast-paced action, its super tight controls, and its sultry character designs that we haven't seen the likes of since Ivy and Soul Calibur. The sex appeal in this game's protagonist Eve is so strong that many online have dubbed this game Stella BBL or Stella Yams, but it was hard to tell if this game was actually good before it launched. Then they dropped that free demo and it straight up broke the internet. Everybody and their grandma was playing this game, and they were posting clips all over social media, with some gamers reporting having over 50 hours on the demo alone. This demo was a breath of fresh air that had people thinking this game had the potential to be the next big thing. And it wasn't just the gameplay in the demo that had folks excited. It was the whole vibe of Stellar Blade that was just different. It had this unique style that made it stand out from all the other generic space games on the market at the moment. It was the art direction, the music, the world building. It all just came together to create something that felt refreshing and new. So yes, expectations were high. People were calling this game of the year material, and it wasn't even out yet, just based off of playing the demo. Fans were counting down the days until the full release, speculating about the story, the characters, and the boss fights. The hype train was in full effect, and everybody was on board. Looking back, maybe we should have been a little bit more cautious. I mean, we've all been burned by overhyped games before, right? But at the time, it was hard not to get swept up in the excitement. Stellar Blade just seemed like it had so much potential and so much promise. And then, well, you know what happened next. IGN France came out of nowhere and they dropped this review that had the internet yapping over 9,000. See, here's what happened. This IGN France writer decided to absolutely trash the game's main character Eve by basically saying that if you liked Eve, you're a pervert who's never seen a real woman because Eve is basically just a sex doll.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Naturally, a shitstorm followed, and the gaming community was just not having it. People were calling out IGN France left and right, saying they were being sexist and disrespectful to the developers, especially since the Eve character model is based off a real South Korean supermodel. It got so bad that IGN had to come out and be like, hey, that's not us. We're a totally different thing from IGN France, essentially throwing them under the bus. But the damage was already done. Stellar Blade, which was supposed to be this sexy and fun action game, was now associated with this whole controversy. Gamers were divided, with some saying IGN France had a point about the over-sexualization, but others defended the game, calling it an attack on artistic freedom. Me? I'm just sitting there like, can we talk about the actual game? Like, yeah, the character designs can be a bit much, but that's not the only thing that matters. What about the gameplay, the story, the world building? It's like everyone got so caught up in this one aspect that they forgot about everything else. The internet can be really tiring sometimes because everyone's got a pitchfork out all the damn time.
I'm keeping it real.
The internet drama machine was in full effect. You had people digging up old tweets, making petitions, and all other nonsense that comes with the outrage moment of the week. It was a mess, and poor Stellar Blade, which hadn't even come out yet, was caught in the middle. Eventually, IGN France tried to backpedal, issuing this half-ass apology that was like, "We didn't mean to offend anyone, sorry if you got offended," but it was too little too late. The damage was done. But I gotta say though, the developers handled this situation pretty well. They didn't get defensive or lash out. Instead, they chose to keep their heads down and focus on making the game that they wanted to make. This is their first big AAA release, so I commend them for keeping their head down and not getting lost in the viral moment. But wait, there's more. Just when you thought this game couldn't get any more controversial, some gamers spotted a strange placement of graffiti in Stellar Blade. In the game, there was a sign in the game that said "Our Shop" and it was ran by Roxanne, and right next to it was the word "hard." Put them together, and it looks like the developers were trying to make some type of inside racist joke. Websites picked up the news, and then the internet exploded once again. But this time, things were different. From my perspective, most people thought this was funny. I mean, hell, I'm guilty of making a joke myself.
Universal, y'all need to be canceled. What is going on? You got the Hard R Cafe. Are you serious right now?
Sony and the developer Shift Up were quick to jump on the apology train. They released this statement saying that it was an honest mistake. The hard graffiti is randomly generated all throughout the world, and it was just bad luck that it ended up next to the R Shop. I think this was an honest mistake and there was no ill intent here, but of course the internet is gonna internet. It sparked this whole debate about censorship and sensitivity in gaming. Like, where do we draw the line? Should developers be able to include whatever they want in their games, even if it is offensive? Or do they have a responsibility to make their games inclusive and respectful? But here's the thing, all this controversy, all this drama, it was starting to overshadow the actual game. Like, people were so caught up in debating whether or not Stellar Blade was woke or too PC that they forgot to ask the most important question. Is it actually any good? It makes you wonder, how much did all this drama affect the game's initial reception? Like, did it turn people off from buying it, or did it just make them more curious? Well, lucky for you, I have the answer. According to reports, Stellar Blade sold 1 million copies in its first 24 hours, so clearly all the controversy helped. But you ain't here for everyone else's opinion, right? 1 million copies aside, many of you might be wondering, how do I feel about the game? Like, was the gameplay worth all the drama? It's a battle despicer! So here's what I think. Stellar Blade is the new action-adventure RPG from Shift Up, and it's out now exclusively for the PS5, but don't be shocked if this game makes its way to the PC one day, seeing as that's been the current trend for PlayStation games. After spending a few hours with the full game, I have to say that my initial impressions from the demo have not changed much. Stellar Blade is a solid Sony exclusive. It's not blowing me away, but it understands what it is, and that's an action-adventure RPG game that draws inspiration from titles such as Bayonetta and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Let's start with the combat. This is where Stellar Blade really shines. It's fast, it's fluid, and most importantly, it feels satisfying. You got your basic attacks, your heavy attacks, your dodges, your parries, plus special moves that you can unlock from the skill tree, which serves as a great way to end or even initiate a combo. At times, Eve does feel like she has a bit of delay on her inputs, but for the most part, I'd say the mechanics feel good. What I love is, if you're struggling with any new ability or combo that you unlock, it's not a big deal, seeing as the game does feature a practice mode. At any time, if you feel like you need to spruce up on your skills, you can hit the menu and enter a separate area where you can practice your new moves that you just unlocked. What did surprise me is this game actually has some pretty decent depth to its combat. You got different weapon types, including melee and long range weapons, plus a skill tree that spans several pages. Each skill tree specializes in a different thing, such as defense or special moves, which means this game rewards you for exploring and farming enemies by giving you a ton of options when it comes to dealing with people. AoEs too. I'm literally about to run through my shit. I got him trapped. Remember, there's no correct way to win, guys. This is talent. Use the light pole to cheese him. That didn't count. That didn't count. That didn't count. I love the defensive options and the counter moves this game contains. There's a blue and purple counter that requires you to hit the right button and direction on the analog stick that activates your counter move. Eve will end up going into an animation and doing these badass counters that feel great to pull off every time. And the best part is that you also get a perfect dodge reminiscent of Bayonetta or Nier Automata. Time your dodge at the right time and you will slow down time and you'll get iframes, which gives you the advantage over the enemy. Boss fights are fun because they really test your reflexes and your understanding of your character's kit. If you're feeling intimidated by the boss fights you've seen in trailers, or the fact earlier I said this game plays like Sekiro, just know that I meant it feels like them. It's not as hard as a Souls game. I'm playing on the hardest difficulty with the skin suit, and to me, it feels fine. This game feels closer to Jedi Survivor in terms of difficulty than it does Dark Souls. Bro, what the bro, I'm hitting the fucking button. This nigga squirted on me. He wasn't even looking at, that's bullshit. This fight is not even hard. And complimenting it all is the game's graphics. They're pretty impressive. I'm running this game on performance mode, and even in performance mode, dare I say this game looks stellar.
Pun intended?
The characters are all super detailed, the lighting is immaculate, and the cutscenes are smooth. My only knock on the visuals is the environments could have been a little bit better. It feels like a large portion of the budget went into the game's sex appeal and the character models, and that time and resources could have been spent elsewhere. The good news is that if sex appeal and customization is your thing, Eve does have a wide array of outfits to unlock. These are unlocked via exploration, so once again, the game rewards players for going off that beaten path. But let's be real, graphics and cute outfits aren't everything, so let me make you aware of other gameplay mechanics this game includes, which are puzzles. This part actually threw me off. I just wasn't expecting them, seeing as they weren't really in any of the promotional material. I've encountered a couple so far, and I'd classify them as decent puzzles. I mean, they're not too hard, but they're not too easy, so the puzzles haven't really messed with the pacing of the game for me the way God of War Ragnarok's did. What did mess with the pacing of the game for me is this game's platforming. All throughout the game, Eve is tasked with running and jumping distances with precision, but it's hard to be precise when she feels so bogged down. It's jarring to play too, because in combat, she's so swift and graceful, yet when it comes to swinging on poles or jumping or running on walls, it's like she's weighed down by an anchor. Ability. Game! No! No! Ooh. The stealth in this game isn't any better either. Dare I say it's actually pretty bad. You can backstab people if you catch them off guard, but it's damn near impossible considering there's no way to conceal your steps through a crouch walk. Stealth is predicated on if the enemy is looking at you or not, but since the enemies tend to move quickly in their areas, it's hard to pull anything off, so a lot of times stealth felt useless.
Say it ain't so.
As for the story, this feels like another one of the game's shortcomings. The story is something about Eve being a futuristic super soldier tasked with taking out an invading alien force. The cutscenes are well produced, but it's hard to care about what's going on when the voice performances are so flat. Everyone has this monotone, dry voice actor, so it makes it hard to care about anything. And it's weird too, because this is a post-apocalyptic story, but nobody seems to have any emotion behind their voice when it comes to saving humanity. Most of the emotion comes from the game's soundtrack. If you love a good soundtrack, yeah, Stellar Blade is for you. The tunes are catchy and they perfectly encapsulate the entire vibe of the game. Sometimes it's aggressive and other times it's elegant, just like the game's protagonist, Eve. And that's because the soundtrack was done by the same people in charge of Nier Automata's music. So if you love that game, well, Stellar Blade is right up your alley. They was hating on me, cause I was the baddest bitch you ever seen. These hoes hating on me. A bad bitch just got her degree. I'm who all these hoes wanna be. That's Eve. All the niggas wanna fuck me. No did he. But back to the story. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not awful. The characters are likable enough, but I would not expect anything mind-blowing from the narrative. It serves you more to get you from point A to B. You're more so playing this game for the gameplay and exploration more than anything else. The reality is that Stellar Blade is hard carried by its combat, its music, and its visuals, and as long as you understand that, I think you're in for a good time. So going back to the original question that I presented at the top of this video, was Stellar Blade worth all of the drama? Honestly, that's for you to decide. I don't think anything is worth drama because I like my peace, and I also like this game. So do what you want with that info. And while you figure out what you're gonna do with that info, do me a favor and click the card on the screen. Since you like to hear opinions on games, I think you'll like this series that I do called Hot Takes. I take hot takes from you, the viewer, on games, and I debate them. And if you want to see what it's all about, just click the card on the screen.